Hello and welcome to the skating lesson. I'm Dave Lees.
And I'm Jonathan Byron. We have two lovely ladies with us today.
This is Zoe. Say hi. Hi.
Well, she
smile at least.
Yeah.
She's usually really chatty, just like her mom.
Okay. Well, Meagan, you have been in the news a lot this week. How are you doing? What is going on? What is happening?
Well, was like the breakthrough news of the week, I guess, in the skating world. For myself, I was notified 2 weeks ago. So I've been kind of processing it for the last 2 weeks. And every day I seem to have found out new information. You know, when I was first given the news, I don't know if you've ever been like received really shocking news, like you're kind of numb and you don't know how to respond. And I said, okay, to every single thing. And I wasn't mean. I didn't yell. I didn't say any nasty remarks. I just was like, okay. And then like, good luck. So like, that was my initial reaction. I'm just going to go take the baby out of the cat's room where she has their litter box, shut the door, and I'll be right back.
Okay. This is called pivoting, Jonathan. And
yeah. I'm going to remember that in my next interview. They're going to ask me a tough question. I'm going to be like, the litter box room, excuse me. And then just exit.
She tries to, I have like a litter box in a wooden box. So she tries to open up the lid and
see what's going on.
Love cats. It's fine.
Yeah, I have a cat, a crazy one. So I'm just going to make a disclaimer for everybody watching this. After like the previous time I was on the show and what's been going on this week. Number one, I did not and do not tell Jonathan and Dave all the information that they get. This is number one. I barely ever talk to them except for when I'm on the show. Like I literally only talk to Jonathan when I'm on the show, and Dave texts me once a month and usually sends me the link for this and that. That's like literally the extent of our conversation.
Was that the insinuation? Was that you're like an informant?
Yes.
Oh, hilarious.
From a few people. So I'm just clearing up, and as you guys know, I'm not an informant. I'm not feeding you anything. When Dave tells me information, it's usually the first time I've ever heard it. And I usually respond like, oh, I didn't know that. So just to clear that up. Second of all, when I appear on the show, I love to chat with you guys. Does it mean I agree with everything you say? Of course not. Do you agree with everything I say? No. And that's fine. We can have differing opinions and we can still be on the same show talking about skating. And I think that that's kind of like a general assumption sometimes. And a little bit of a problem like within our society that people think because you have different opinions than somebody else, you can't get along with them and speak to them. And just because I'm here, it doesn't mean I think everything you say is correct or that I think it's yes or a no, but that's fine. Yeah. You are allowed your own opinions, as am I.
It's a discussion.
I just want to clear that up because I think there's some people that don't quite understand that. And yeah, that's where I think that this gives me a great platform to use my voice, to talk about my opinions on skating when we're reviewing an event. And, you know, like just for me I love skating. I love to talk about skating and you give me the opportunity to do that.
Good. Well, I think it's interesting. You brought up that you don't tell me everything. And this was kind of an awkward spot is that I had known that Vanessa James was looking for a partner. And then I get emails from Danny O'Shea has like a major fan. I don't know if they're connected, what the exact relationship is, but it was known that he was trying out with Vanessa and then that Vanessa was choosing to go with a Canadian champion. So that limited the window down. And having seen Eric doing a solo show and him doing crossovers with Aliona, it's got into very uncomfortable territory. And I had actually sent Bruno a text on March 3rd. I checked my phone saying Vanessa has a partner, ... and he never replied. So when and how did you actually find out about this?
I mean, in a way, like honestly, I feel slightly embarrassed that you may have known this before me because it's my own life. So I do feel a little bit embarrassed that a lot of people seem to have known. I was notified on April 2nd. And like, I had like a funny thought, like, is this like an April Fool's joke at first? That's Zoe's piano playing skills.
She was using a slot machine.
It's like a mat. And when you step on it, it makes different noises.
Okay.
So I was notified on April 2nd. Like I said, it appears that more than just you, Dave, knew that this had been happening. I have now since known that my friends were notified by Eric weeks before I was. that this was something that was happening. This is a fact. I'm going to be very clear when I speak what are facts and what are opinions. This is a fact that they trained together for months with my sister-in-law, and nobody thought that I was worthy to know this information. It is a fact that Eric and Vanessa were training, and at the same time, Eric was planning and booking shows with me. These are facts. These things overlapped each other. I did not know about one of these facts until later on.
Okay.
Well, and I have to say, Meagan, it's really interesting when we sort of had heard the rumblings and it was brought up last week. There was something intriguing, like I'm always intrigued to see two new people as a pair, like, okay, that could be interesting, but it didn't occur to me then what that might do for your touring options. It didn't even, that like this kind of change in partnership directly affects your income in tours and shows and things like that. It didn't even dawn on me to think of that. I would imagine that's a tough go.
I have no problem if people are excited to see this team. This is skating. Okay, like when people are competing, they want to see great skating. If Eric and Vanessa are going to provide great skating, that's amazing. I have no issue with that whatsoever. I have no issue that he maybe wanted to go back into competition. No problem at all. People change their mind all the time. So I had no problem with that. Going off what you said, one of the reasons why I felt it was important for me to publicly state my truth was because when first I had made that like kind of statement and I had kept it in my phone for over a week, and I was going to give it to Skate Canada or CBC when I thought they would contact me before they made an announcement. I thought they would ask me for a quote. I thought they would ask me, can you tell us why you are not going to be skating anymore? They didn't. And when the announcement came forward, there was a lot of people excited, just like you had kind of assumed, Jonathan. And with that excitement came phone calls and messages to me. Oh my gosh, are you pregnant? Congratulations. Oh, why didn't you want to keep skating? I thought you wanted to continue shows. All these things from my friends, from skating community, from people I didn't know coming through. And I felt I needed to state my truth because rumors were being started. I'm aware that on the CBC YouTube show that Eric and Vanessa did, that he stated I wanted to expand my family. So that led people to think I was pregnant when I have had no intentions at this moment to expand my family at all. So there was rumors being started about why I was no longer in the picture. And I felt like I needed to clear that up. And that was really important because I didn't need people messaging me and tell me, oh my God, congratulations on being pregnant. I had no intention to be pregnant and I'm not.
Although if you were, we would support you.
Maybe this is going to entirely change my life plans.
Yeah.
Like maybe I'm going to need to reassess now about what I'm going to do with my life. But that was in no way an immediate intention or short-term intention to expand my family at all.
So one of the things that people have brought up is that obviously you having a baby could have Eric be in a position to question, what his plans are in his life. And I just wanted to kind of walk through, did he know ahead of time when you were going to have a baby? I mean, I remember you telling me before you finished skating that you wanted to be pregnant by March 2018 and that you wanted to get this, show on the road. Obviously, Team Canada won a gold medal and that kind of changed things. So how did that conversation happen between you about your professional careers and what you were going to do?
Well, Eric knew that Bruno and I wanted to have a family and have children. In the skating world, as I did, I still performed in shows while I was pregnant. We did 2 full tours while I was pregnant. My pregnancy affected 1 tour. We missed 1 tour because of it. We also missed 2 tours because Eric had been injured in the past in 2013 or 2014. I forget exactly. But like years ago, we did miss 2 tours because he was injured. We missed 1 tour because I was pregnant. That it's life, it happens, right? Yeah. I had no intentions to slow down my professional career because I was pregnant. A lot of really great skaters have continued their career as their parents, like as they became parents. So yes, I got pregnant. The day after I did my pregnancy test, I told him, before I had really informed my family or anything, I told him because we were skating that day and I was like, I just need to let you know, like, this is what's going on. So he knew immediately. I wasn't pregnant for months before I told him.
So What kind of plans did you actually have for this year? I know people are saying, why is she upset? All the shows are canceled anyway. You know, kind of talk us through that, because I think things do get planned and people have to make plans. You know, with COVID, it is the great unknown, but this is, you know, things are still being planned. So what did your next year look like?
Yeah, things are definitely still being planned. I mean, there has been no professional skaters working in the last year apart from Battle of the Blades. That was the only professional opportunity offered to any skaters, in which we both had the offer to participate. Obviously, like with different partners, that's the nature of the show. So after I'll backtrack a little bit. After I got pregnant, I had the baby in October 2019. I was back on the ice with Eric in February, training and getting choreography, because we were due to go to Japan and do Stars and Ice North America. So we had two big tours booked for the spring of 2020. Just under 4 months after having a very major surgery, having a C-section, I was back on the ice with Eric. We were choreographing our programs. We were getting everything back into shape. We had the tours booked, and understandably, they were canceled. COVID hit and closed down the world. After that, it was like kind of a waiting game. We talked a bit and we're like, well, we're just going to wait and see. Hopefully next spring, the tours happen again. We are both really happy to get the opportunity with Battle of the Blades. And shortly after Battle of the Blades, we were confirmed by our agent that Stars and Ice Japan, they're still planning to go ahead. We were told at the time things weren't that bad with COVID in Japan. I don't know that. This is like an opinion based on what somebody told me, not a fact. I don't know how bad things are in Japan with COVID. We were told that the tour was still to happen. So we had started making plans to train together in February, either me going to Montreal or he coming to me, or like vice versa. This happens a lot in the skating world. Caitlin Weaver and Andrew Poge live in different countries. Aliona and Bruno live in different countries. Meryl and Charlie live on different coasts. They still train and perform in shows together. Living in separate cities does not affect that, because I've seen some comments about that. So we made the plans to go ahead with Stars Japan. We found out that the spring Stars and Ice tour that normally goes across North America was not happening. Understandably, things are still really bad in Canada, but they were looking forward to having a fall winter tour. So we were really excited about that. As we were planning Stars and Ice Japan, Eric is correct. I was hesitant to go to Japan. I was hesitant to travel in a pandemic. Going to Japan required 2 weeks of quarantine upon arriving in Japan, 2 to 3 weeks of touring, and then 2 weeks of quarantine upon arriving home. I was hesitant to leave Zoe for that amount of time. And I was also hesitant to quarantine with Zoe in a really small Japanese hotel room. I don't know if you know the size of those hotel rooms, but they're really small. Yeah. So I had those hesitations, but that was my problem. That was my problem to deal with. We were still going ahead and doing the tour. I asked IMG, which is the agency that runs Stars and Ice, if they would consider maybe giving like a bigger apartment style room, and maybe like they could put all the Canadians traveling to Japan together to quarantine. My mom had agreed to come on tour with us to take care of the baby. Another thing that I have seen some questions about. My mom could not come to Japan because she has not been fully vaccinated, because we're a little bit behind in that in Canada. So I was arranging a nanny babysitter to travel with me. IMG agreed with Eric and I that they would cover those expenses of somebody else's flight, not the expenses of like a nanny service, but their flight and their hotel. So I expressed to Eric, like, this is going to be really hard. Like, I don't know how I'll handle it. And he commented back to me, laughing and saying, you'll just do lots of yoga in your hotel room. You'll be okay. So yes, I was hesitant. Wouldn't you be if you were traveling to Japan in the middle of a pandemic?
With a child, yeah.
We had plans to follow through with that, like to continue with that. And then we, in February, end of February, early March, we're communicating with each other about the fall tours. At the time, I didn't know that at the end of February, early March, there had already been a process to get the release from France for Vanessa that was already in the works. So this is a fact, as they were training and getting ready for their release, Eric and I were communicating about booking shows, same time, crossing over each other.
Do you think that was because they were skeptical about the release maybe even being possible? So he was like basically keeping two options open? 100%. Okay.
100%. I feel, my opinion is that is what was happening. I can see that from a business standpoint, being something that's done. I can understand that. My opinion and my feeling is that I should have just been notified. This is what I'm thinking. So I've talked to 6 members of a professional dance or Paris team. Most of them come from the dance world. So professional show skating. I've talked to 6 different skaters that are part of a team. I asked them, because I was wondering, am I the only one who feels this way? I asked them, if you were thinking of doing shows with a different partner, or you were thinking of competing with a different partner, what is the first thing you would do? Their reply to me was, I would talk to my current partner about how I was feeling and my plans. So I've learned that I am not alone in the way I feel. It is in she said hi Owie. That's her way of saying I have no issue if Eric wanted to do some shows with Vanessa that maybe we weren't offered, and maybe like Vanessa had previous contracts for. I don't know. Like, I'm just like, let's imagine that she may have had previous contracts, and there were shows that were 6 months long. Like, this doesn't exist, but imagine a skating tour that's 6 months long. I would not feasibly be able to do that with a child. There is no tour that's 6 months long, but we're just imagining hypothetically. If he had told me on the instance that there's some shows that you can't do, I would like to fulfill those with Vanessa, by all means. By all means. He did a tour in Germany as a single skater, skated with Violetta in it as well, and played the piano when I was not available. Of course. Why would I ever not allow that? Like, I shouldn't have to allow that. Of course it would be okay. You just ask, you communicate about it first. So that's where I had the issue. The issue is not that he wanted to go back in competition. The issue is not that he wanted to seize opportunities with Vanessa that he may not have had with me. I'm okay with that. 100%. Every individual has the right to make their own choices. I am not okay in the fact that I was left in the dark for months. Factual, I was left in the dark for months.
So do you think that this is a case where he didn't want to hurt your feelings and say that he was thinking of skating with Vanessa? Or do you think that this is a business decision, in your opinion, where he was kind of pushing the decision date down the road for what he would eventually have to do based on when he got the information for himself?
I think it was a little bit of both. I think it was definitely a business decision in the way to keep both options open, which I understand. He could have still done that and talked to me beforehand.
Yeah, it's the transparency.
That is the issue I have. It is not that he wanted to do it. He has full freedom. I do not own him. It's the respect that after a decade of building a legacy together that I feel I deserved, and my feelings are valid. Assumptions were made without speaking to me. I'm not okay with that. I think, Dave, going back to your question, that yes, he did feel bad about talking to me, and that is why he pushed it off so long. I know he spoke to our friends about it. Those friends advised him to tell me immediately, and he decided not to. I feel it's my opinion, because he did not want to hurt me. Eric is not an evil person. Eric has good intentions. I don't think anybody is intentionally evil anyways. He has good intentions. I don't believe Eric is sexist the way that his comment may have come off. I think that was grasping for an excuse. I don't believe, I can say with a fact, I know him, and I know that he is not sexist. He grew up in a family with a strong working mother. This is, I think that he was looking for an excuse and gave an excuse that appeared to be sexist. I agree that that's the way it came off, but he is not. And I know that.
Well, I wanted to talk to you about him and partnering in general, because, I talked to Eliona this week, and, she confirmed that he had reached out to her on 2 occasions about partnering up, both in 2014 and then again last season, around the time before they skated together in Oberstdorf around that time. So can you just confirm what you knew about that, or how you found out about that, and kind of what those decisions were?
I can confirm that it is a fact. After the Olympics in 2014 or before, I only found it after, Eric wanted the opportunity to potentially skate with Aliona. This is a fact. Members of my coaching team notified me of it. So
At the
yes.
time, or when did they tell you? Like before you?
After, no, long time after.
Okay.
But it did happen. It was a fact. He wanted to do that. He has full freedom to want to do whatever he wants. He made the decision not to. That was that. But yes, it happened. It's factual. I don't know about a tryout or any conversation in 2019. When Eric did the German tour, Aliona messaged me and said, is it okay if I skate one session with Eric? In which I said, of course. Like, why would I say no? Like, I would love to skate a session with Aliona. But like, why would I say no? Why would I be like, yeah, you're both in the same city, you can't skate a session for fun? But me, maybe being naive about it, was like, yeah, they're just like friends and they want to skate for fun. I skated and did some pair elements with some random guys at our rink, some of the novice and junior pairs for fun. So that was very respectful of Aliona to notify me and like, in a way, ask for my permission, although I obviously had no issue with it, no problem at all. But I did not know about a conversation about wanting to maybe do shows or skate together. I just understood that as fun. But yes, I know in 2014 it happened factually.
So you and Aliona were pregnant around the same time. So if there was a conversation in 2019, that would have been after she had a baby as well. Because that was kind of the interesting thing when you read the statement.
And that's where I think that that statement about it being because of a baby was just maybe an excuse. I don't know what it was, but I don't believe that that was the core reason why he chose to make this decision. I really don't. And that's why I think that he is unfortunately coming across in a sexist manner with that, where he is not.
Well,
he didn't have the intention of that.
And to hear from you directly, Meagan, you know, it's interesting, like in all of these sorts of interviews or fan speculation, like sort of all these reasons of things, that suddenly now your real life is getting affected and people close to you are saying, oh, you're pregnant. Like that's, I mean, all of these things have.
Or you, like, how come you didn't want to keep skating? I thought that you planned to keep on doing tours. I thought you were doing Stars and Ice in the upcoming year.
Right.
So there's a couple of reasons why I spoke up. I'll speak on that. Number one was because of that. I needed to clear rumors. People were contacting me with incorrect rumors. Number two, if we do not speak up when we are wronged, nobody learns from this. I hope everybody watching this, please listen and talk to the coaches, you know, the skaters, you know, you need to have your teams sign a contract. I don't care if you're world champions. I don't care if you're competing in juvenile pairs. Sign a contract, please. Let this be an example to you that you needed to sign a contract. We've seen it happen before. We've seen it happen to competitive teams. It happened recently with Lubov, in which she was extremely outspoken and she received a lot of respect for that. So, okay, that's another reason why I want people to learn from my lesson. So please have contracts. I don't care what level you skate at. Another reason, number three, is because I feel as if my story may help people on another level. I chose to be vulnerable. I chose to tell my truth. I'm not a very vulnerable person. That was something that we worked a lot on when we skated, for me to have more vulnerability in my skating. This is not something natural to me. This is not something that comes easily to me. I chose to be vulnerable. And I am so happy I did, because you cannot imagine the number of messages I've gotten from people that say they've experienced something similar in their life, personal or professional, and seeing that I'm going through it and seeing that I'm like advocating for myself, they feel inspired. And I've heard some terrible things that have happened to people in the last few days, the messages that I've received from people, terrible things, but I am now serving as an inspiration for them to move forward. And by them sharing their story with me, they're serving as an inspiration for me to move forward. And one more reason why I chose to tell my story is because I have been deeply wronged in the past. I have had terrible things that have happened to me in my past, and I chose not to speak about them. I chose to hide from them. I chose to be ashamed.
She agrees. Yeah, this is a fervent like confirmation.
Yeah, she's having fun. She's dancing on my yoga mat like this.
Okay.
I chose to hide from those things. I chose not to stand up for myself, advocate for myself, and share my story in order to help others. And I don't want to do that again. That was not right, because my stories can help people. My stories can create change. And that's why I speak my truth. I did not say anything hateful in my statement. Anything I liked on social media was because it presented a fact, or it was somebody saying, I support you, Meagan. It was one of those things. If you look back, I liked or commented on things factual.
But I mean, I think you speak to a really good point, not only about just being vulnerable, but also advocating for yourself. Again, in like the music world, I think something that's probably similar in the skating world, it's just to just be quiet and be easy, like go with the flow, don't cause problems. Sometimes like advocating for oneself or like standing up for themselves is considered being a troublemaker or something like that. And I think that's really important, again, to see your example, to sort of shift that narrative that like, no, you're a person first and you're an athlete second.
A real person, and these things, these real things happen to real people. And I think there is nothing wrong with standing up for yourself, advocating for yourself, and speaking your truth. And if people don't agree with your truth, that's fine. It's not their truth. Right. It's not what happened to them.
Right.
I just think that there's so much good that can happen. And if one team gets a contract and it saves trouble, then I've done good by sharing my story.
Yeah.
Like, it's as simple as that.
Yeah.
I was not hateful. I corrected facts from people, maybe. I liked comments that were supporting me or stating facts, but I did not use hateful words. And I've now taken the opportunity to correct and say to the world or whoever's watching this that in fact, although Eric's comment may have appeared sexist, he is not. That is not how he feels at his core.
Well, I want to talk to you about, you brought up the fact that Julie is your sister-in-law. So this has to be a very awkward family dynamic. So how did Bruno find out? And did you and Bruno find out at the same time? And what is that situation? Because obviously Julie is working with Vanessa and Eric. She also choreographs for Kirsten Moore-Towers and Michael Marinero. Everyone is like interrelated in this.
Seems to be, yes. As far as I know, we both found out the same day. Me from Eric, Bruno from Julie. This is what I know. Do I know that that's 100% correct? I don't know. Bruno has told me that this is when he found out. He sees it both ways. He sees that this is Julie's business, but he also sees that me as a human being should have been respected and told when plans were being made. So he sees it like kind of from both angles, but he's stuck in the middle as well with Kirsten and Mike, because throughout all of this that Eric and Vanessa and Julie were planning, Kirsten and Mike and Julie were obviously, I would assume, planning their choreography for the Olympic season. I don't know. That's my thought process, that this would be the time of year where that starts to be developed.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I want to go to that family Thanksgiving, or maybe not, but.
Zoe has a sharp pen in her hand. I'm just going to grab it from her. I can fall over my yoga mat.
And Canadian Thanksgiving is earlier, so it'll be.
You don't really celebrate Thanksgiving
fresh.
in Canada that much.
I mean, how did that conversation go? I could just imagine that if, this were with my sister and, I was trying to put myself in like the shoes. On one hand, this is a great opportunity for Julie because she's now coaching a team that has a great shot of going to the Olympics. And I mean, for her professionally, but for personally, for her, this has to be a quagmire. Yeah, this is, yeah.
Julie has yet to reach out to me, so I have not spoken to her. I do not know. I can't like really answer how she feels about this because she has not spoken to me. So that's something that I don't really have an answer to. I just see it the same way as you do, that this is her business and a good business opportunity for her. And that's all I know because I haven't spoken to her.
So when you got your conversation with Eric, you were saying that you just said like shock, like how long, was this like a thing where you had like a delayed reaction? Like, I guess just kind of walk us. Okay.
So I was walking my dogs and I thought he was calling to like talk about like when we were going to skate or a music idea he had for shows. So it did like catch me completely off guard. I answered okay to pretty much everything. I asked like a few questions. I was like, how long has this been happening? And he told me a couple months. That they like, he did tell me that in the phone call that they'd been skating together for a couple months. And I was like, okay. And what else did he say? I asked, like, is Ian coaching you? And he kind of brushed off that answer, didn't give me an answer of who was coaching them. He said that he wasn't coming back to win. Like he said, this isn't about winning. This isn't about results. But he felt like he could get more opportunities with Vanessa. And I said to him at the end of the conversation, that like, well, good luck. Like I that's like kind of the way I remember saying it. I definitely wasn't like, oh my God, good luck, have fun. You know, I was like in a state of shock. I did make a joking comment to him that I had no plans to return to competition on that phone call. Which I mean, I didn't, I never thought about it. But he had already made his decision when I told him that. I didn't tell him that as he was thinking about making this decision. And so I got off the phone and I was like, I told my parents who were walking with me, you'll never guess what just happened, like what Eric just told me. And they were like, whoa, like that's weird. And we kind of left it. And I just internally processed it. I put together like some timelines in my head over the next few days. I contacted our agent and I was like, you'll never guess what happened. And he couldn't believe it either. We started immediately trying to think of ideas of how I could still maybe do Stars on Ice should a tour happen. You know, we started like putting together things and every day I just like kind of either learned a new fact or realized something new in the equation of this. And the one thing that seemed to make me think the most was when he said, I'll get more opportunities with Vanessa, you know. Like he said it to me as if I would understand. And I was like, okay. That's how I responded.
No, I don't know because we have opportunities.
But yeah, that's what I was left thinking. I was like, I didn't understand that. Of all things, that's what I didn't understand because we, over the years, we booked like every single tour and show. We did a lot. Like we went to Italy for weeks in the Olympic season to do opera on ice. Like we were offered a lot. I know a lot of people see Eric and I as a really technical team, but we did have a lot of really great show programs that were extremely creative with a lot of neat moves. And like, I guess you can say like crowd friendly because we were asked to do a lot of shows in which we said yes to every single one of them. We never said no to a show unless there was like an injury or something. So I was like, how would you get more opportunities with her than, you know, with your world championship and your Olympic medals and our reputation and our legacy that we've kind of like created. So that's the comment that kind of left me a little like, I don't know the right word, like startled. I was like, that it didn't make sense to me. And then I just kept finding out more information and more information and more information. And as I kept finding out more information, it was like, what the heck? Like, what is going on? So that's kind of my process. So I wasn't angry in a sense when he first told me because I needed to process. Yeah, say hi. Say hi. You're full of cat hair because you were just rolling on her bed.
Would you ever actually come back? I mean, on one hand, you've always been a very competitive person. You did tell us, you know, that I remember after the Olympics, you were like, I feel completely at peace with your competitive career. Would you have considered it? Like,
I mean, this is all hypothetical. I don't know if I would have considered it unless he had presented that fact to me or that question to me. He didn't even need to tell me, do you want to come back? He just needed to say, I am thinking of coming back. This is what my plans are. I love competing and I love training. I love to train more than I love to compete. So like if he presented it to me, it may have like woken up something in my subconscious, but I can't say that for certain. I can't. But again, this is not about him not asking me to come back. It's just the making plans with me while making plans with somebody else and leaving me in the dark of those plans. This is the core issue that I felt like I had.
So like, as you look forward to sort of those tours, are you planning on potentially skating with someone else? Are you planning on maybe just skating on your own?
Well, those are all options that are on the table.
Okay.
And there's just nothing set in stone. And like, I mean, we're all cautiously optimistic that a tour is going to happen in the fall, but I know you're living a different reality in the US than we are in Canada, but we are in a really bad situation in Canada right now with COVID.
So one of the things that I don't know if they anticipated was the kind of blowback that their partnership announcement got. And I kind of wanted your opinion on this, is that I don't know if the situation is different in Canada, but in the US, you know, tied to Morgan Cypress, and that was a huge news story about, you know, Morgan getting charged, obviously, with felony misconduct in Florida. So is it not as big of a news story? Because I can't see Eric, from my perception of him, wanting to walk into this situation that could potentially have Olympic reporters, Christine Brennan, writing rather pointed columns right on, you know, the heels of your comeback, or if you make an Olympic team. I mean, this is a very tense, I think, situation.
I don't think this is an opinion because I don't know. I doubt that it was expected. But as within the skating world, we, like Eric knew the issue that had happened, the charges that were made. We in the skating world know. In like general Canadian skating fans probably don't know. Like the general, like I watch this skating when it's only on TV, which is very rarely in Canada. Like they probably don't have a clue. Vanessa always and Morgan always got great crowd reactions from Canadian audiences. They competed at Skate Canada a lot, and I remember like the crowd really loving them. I know you want to say hi to them. So I don't think that they expected it. But to me, like that seems like territory that you would know would come from this.
Well, it's interesting because that story in general, Dave, like even though we've seen it, obviously, we've read the article, talked about it on the show, but it doesn't seem to be a story that's gotten much traction outside of super fandom.
Yeah. Go get my phone and I'm going to put a show on. Go get my phone.
It's part of a larger conversation
over there
about safe sport and misconduct and things like that. But I'm curious, in the pair world, was, you know, the narrative that Skate Canada set, and this is, Vanessa was completely blindsided, but she's never made a statement about it, you know, for whatever reason, whether it be legal or her own personal choice, has never made a statement. Had there been rumors surrounding this team and swirling, was this something that people were aware
in the
of?
skating world?
Yeah.
No, like, I mean, I'm going to get my phone so I can put a TV show on. Bruno's gone to buy grass to lay down in our yard.
Oh, like actual grass.
Yeah, he's like gonna have to like lay down some grass. Because I do 5 Zoom classes today. Oh. So he's gone to, so he left me with the baby for a little bit while he went to the store. And we can only do curbside pickup in Canada because everything is closed, or in Ontario anyway. So he had to like probably go wait in the line outside the store and then ask them like what he should buy, because you can't like go in the store and look at what
bored of COVID in the US. We tried that and they just decided that
this has been a reality here.
Yeah.
I can't say that people in the skating world would have known that like this is something that Morgan would have done or been charged with doing. So I mean, I think in the skating world it's kind of like, whoa, I can't believe that. But like it circulated pretty quickly. Like people knew about it pretty quickly before Christine Brennan reported it.
Yeah. So
but I don't know like details about that. I don't know inside information about that. No, I know what you know. Well, I mean, I think I know just like what you know and what's been shown to us.
Yeah, it's just interesting that they haven't made a statement about it, and that it is walking into quite a situation about, I mean, rinks, things circulate very quickly in any closed community.
Well, and it's interesting that you say like CBC and things like that, for instance, we're reaching out to you as a former partner to sort of like give a well wish or an endorsement or a how do you feel about it? Because I wonder if that opens the door then to asking about Vanessa's former partner. And then it opens this whole...
I don't know why I wasn't asked for a statement. I know that one network has called and apologized to me and said that they should have asked me for a comment, which is nice, I guess. That was nice of them. But I think I had every right to tell my story, as does anyone. everybody has a right to share their story. And I hope that people do. I hope that we stand up for ourselves, advocate for ourselves, and share so that we can learn through each other. But like I said, that statement was also not made in a rash, heat of the moment emotion. I had it set in my phone for over a week, and I actually removed some things from it before I published it.
Well, I wanted to ask you about
that it was extremely kind, and that the skating community, skaters, coaches, and officials who know the full story, all the comments that I've been given from them is that I was extremely respectful and kind, and that they may have not been so nice.
So I'm very curious about Maxim Trankov. He gave a quote in an interview on Russian TV recently, and he was asked who his least favorite person in skating was, and he said Meagan, but that he likes Eric. So I was wondering, what is the situation with Meagan Duhamel and Maxim Trankov? What is the history of this? He claims that it was that you tweeted about one of his teams in under rotations, perhaps. But I remember this going back way further, that he had made comments that he didn't like you and Eric as a pair. Yeah.
So what is these things come? I mean, I barely know him personally. And his wife has always been like super nice and super kind, and I really like her. But I mean, when I first met Max, I was skating with my former partner, Craig. I met him at the 2008 Worlds. Craig and I came 6th, and I believe Max came 7th. And I remember chatting with him backstage and like making jokes and stuff. Actually, I need to retrace myself. I competed against him at the 2005 Junior Worlds, but I don't remember like communicating with him then. So I started talking with him in 2008, and like everything was fine. And then it was like kind of when I started skating with Eric, that after the 2012 Worlds, my friends translated an article in the Russian news where Max and his coach claimed that Eric and I had no level 3 elements. At the time, it was only a level 3 that you could get. And I was like, well, that's so silly. Like all of our stuff was called, everything we planned a level 3 was called a level 3. Like what a weird thing to say, you know? And he was, I believe, the world silver medalist, and we were like a distant 5th. So like, why did they care to even talk about us in the first place? Like we're so far from his reality and competitive pairs. So that was weird. And then after the 2013 Worlds, we won a medal. And I remember in between Worlds and World Team Trophy, my friend's translating another Russian article where he and his coach said that Eric and I were really bad skaters, and that we didn't deserve our results and we didn't deserve our scores. And I mean, just as a competitive skater in Canada, we're not asked like, oh, tell us how you feel about the team that came 3rd at the competition that you won. That's not something that like our media asks. I've since learned that this is just like, this is common. Like in the Russian media, they would ask like the winner of the Olympics, how do you feel about who came 3rd? It's just like, that's not normal for us. I've learned now that this is just not how it works in Canada, but for them, it is normal to talk about their competitors and stuff. But yeah, I remember that comment and being like, well, that's rude. Like, I want to beat them now because they're being mean to me, which of course, like we never beat them. But then at the Worlds in 2016 in Boston, Schweenhan won the short, he was 2nd and we were 3rd. And on the like press conference, he congratulated Schweenhan and ignored us. And that's when I was like, whoa, like that was far. Like that went a little far. And that's when I was like, well, I don't want to be associated with this person anymore. He's not very nice.
Do you think it's because you're openly competitive? Is that why he is? And
I don't know. And you know what? It's so funny because this year I was like the one rooting for his team. Like I was so like Tarasova and Morozov, I want them to do well. In NBC Olympics, I predicted them to win. With you, I predicted them to win. I've been so pro his team. So I mean, I have nothing against like anything he's doing right now.
I'm just curious how he said that, you know,
I might have said one time that they did an under rotated quad twist, because when they did a quad twist, sometimes it was a little under. He also does interviews and he's like, well, that Canadian team that always 2-foots their jump or does this and does that. So what's the difference of me saying that and him saying a comment?
Do you think he was asked, he might have been asked for comment, were you were doing harder side-by-side jumps probably than they were at that point? Maybe that was why they kind of were trying to ask him about teams doing harder elements and what they're,
maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't like, he's like, I guess in the media said some things that I feel are a little like, why would you say that about your competitor? I've since learned that this is just the way the media works in Russia. But But I mean, I don't hate him. I don't know him enough to hate him. How can I hate somebody and dislike somebody that I don't know?
Right.
I mean, I'd probably not go for a beer with him. Or maybe I would, so I could learn about
Maybe
him.
that would solve
Maybe
it.
I
Yeah.
would. Maybe we could learn about each other and it would all be good. Like, I don't know. I just don't even think about him. It's so funny that he's still talking about me. And I'm rooting for his team.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. Well,
It is.
What's next for you? I mean, you obviously are doing 5 Zoom classes today. I know that you wrote that you were not coaching. So kind of what is on your horizon?
Well, first, like I chose to not coach at the rink anymore. Like a couple of months ago, I made that decision for myself. The environment made me feel uncomfortable. So I just stepped away. And I've been really busy with Zoom stuff and like exploring. Well, I thought I was going to be doing shows. Today I'm doing the last of my 4 April like seminar classes where I run seminar style classes on Zoom for skaters all over the world that, you know, haven't been able to engage and to have events for skating in so long. Today we're doing a workout class, an acting class, a yoga class, and then a parent discussion panel with Kelly Ribbon, with Adam Urban's mom.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. So we've done a couple of different things. Last week we had Madison Hubble and Zach in for an athlete discussion panel, talking to the skaters, sharing their experience. It's been so much fun to kind of offer these skaters these type of classes that maybe they wouldn't have normally been able to attend. And like they just get all these like world and Olympic skaters in their living room, which is probably super cool for them. So yeah, I have 4 of those classes today. Then I have my open Zoom training class that I do every Sunday night for skaters. So I need to like take some time and reassess like my professional life. I'd love to be like, I'm going to do tours and I'm going to do them as single skater, but like, who's going to hire me as a single skater? I have no title. Of course they should want Caitlin Osman. Of course they should want Ashley Wagner. Of course they should want all these better single skaters that have a reputation and results. So, I mean, I just don't know what that like future is going to hold for me. I do once, it's able, I don't know, like obviously you live in a different reality. I want to do my Pilates teacher training, which there's no live training right now in Canada. And I'm waiting for like some live training to open up. So I guess like that would be my next big thing I'm going to do.
Because Meagan, when you say something was uncomfortable about the environment with the coaching, are you talking about a specific place or are you talking about coaching in general? Because are you open to
the specific place where I was coaching? I'm open to maybe having more opportunities in the coaching world. I love to coach. I love to share my experience. I still get messages every week from the skaters I coached and parents asking me that they miss my lessons and they want me to come back. So I'm like totally open. Right now I feel a bit burned by the skating world. I feel extremely burned by my experiences. So I don't know if I'm going to jump back into any sort of professional endeavor within skating immediately.
Okay.
I'm going to have to tread my waters very carefully and have contracts about what I'm doing, written contracts. I don't care what it is. I'm going to have learned that this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Well, there's always the ISU adult, competition, and Midori Ito typically participates. So maybe we could see you and your idol Midori Ito on the ice together.
That's the dream. One day, that's the dream. I always dreamt that I was going to compete as an adult skater. One of the rare times I was chatting with Dave, not on this show, because everybody thinks we're like best friends and chat all the time. Like the first time we chatted about anything like life related in months was last night, where he was sending me some videos of his skating and I was telling him how to improve his counter spin and his sit spin. But I think like, I mean, I have nothing new to say. I think I've said everything that I need to say. I just felt like, I mean, I wanted to make sure I had those few disclaimers, like I stated at the beginning of this. I wanted to make sure that people understood that I didn't use hateful words. I said nothing hateful, not once throughout any of this. And that the reason that I feel hurt, and my feelings are valid and they're absolutely important, is because of the crisscrossing of planning, like, double crossing of planning. Maybe other people don't feel like that matters that much, and that's okay. For them, they just don't think it's important. For me, it was. For me, loyalty is everything. And I hope that people learn from my experiences. That's really where like my stance on this. I didn't see your world's review. I was part of your world's preview. What do you guys think is going to happen at the Olympics in 1 year or in less?
Pause. Meagan, this is why I love that you were like, if 3 people are having a conversation, it does not mean that all 3 people are thinking the exact same thing, because we had some really fun guests, and we had some guests that would say something that I was totally aligned with, and some guests that literally, of all things, left Dave and I speechless for a couple of seconds. So we are with you that you can have a discussion with 3 people and have totally different responses.
Like you, like, in all respect, because I love her beautiful lyrical skating. I know you're like such a Satoko fan and that you love her skating.
It's like
but
painful.
I understand the reality of why her results haven't been what they are. Like, you have to agree on that, but I still respect your opinion.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like,
yeah,
I don't know, but what do you think is going to happen at the Olympics? Like, give me a breakdown who you think is going to win each discipline.
Well, I don't know that I know who's going to win each discipline, but the one thing I'm really intrigued by right now is it's kind of been bandied about in the press, and it's funny because Trankov is in the middle of this, and it's probably why they were interviewing him, is that there's this discussion about whether or not Tarasov and Morozov will train with eteri tutberidze. And it was originally rather denied by Trankov, yet then eteri and Danny G and Sergei Dudikov were on a late night show in Russia, and they were starting to talk about, she doesn't know why pairs are so bad at the side-by-side elements, but she hopes that she can fix it. Is eteri going to coach pairs? Is she going to coach Taras and Morozov? What kind of impact, if any, will that have? Because they've been with so many different coaches, but now eteri seems invested. I'm curious about this whole dynamic and what is.
Do you think eteri can like snap her fingers and get them to land their jumps in stressful, high-pressure situations? Because I don't think jump technique is the issue.
I don't know.
I don't know either. I'm just asking.
I've never seen this team train, but I imagine that they've had a lot of high quality, very professional specialists work with them. So,
yeah, I agree.
But maybe she has training ideas about numbers or consistency or something that could help them. But with them, I noticed that it's not just the side-by-side jumps. They could miss a throw. There are different mistakes that they make, but maybe there is something in her training formula that could benefit them. They are also older athletes, and she hasn't had that kind of success. So can she address the numbers? I think it's a fascinating thing to watch.
Because here's the thing. It seems like eteri works on a lot of like intensity, intimidation, and she has sort of submissive students that will fall in line and do the thing. But you are talking about adults, and you are talking about people that have trained with several top people of varying degrees. So I think like if she just starts getting intense with them, like, I don't know, there is clearly some mental aspect that needs to be addressed with this particular team. I am someone that would need the positive reinforcement. I would need it to be lovely, and you hold my hands and you tell me I can do it, and then I'll be like, you know what, I can. Thank you so much. I'm gonna go hit this triple sow. I think this sort of eteri, like no nonsense, like harsh approach, I could see them shutting down under that too. Mm-hmm. Because they've been in intense situations, and you see Voronov or Trankov like being intense and flaily at the boards, and that doesn't seem to be working.
Yeah, I think like I thought their biggest problem was getting the right type of program. I was like, maybe that Candyman program, because the energy was a bit off, it affected the elements. We've seen that happen. I've had that happen to me personally. Yeah. So I kind of thought that was the issue, but then I thought that they had programs that really worked for them this year, and then they still, didn't seize the moments that we wish that they would have. I'm still going to hold out hope that one day they're going to perform under the gun when it matters the most and be super successful. But every year that passes, I guess that hope just gets a little smaller and a little smaller and a little smaller, as it probably does for them also, right? Like, imagine how frustrating that is for them. It's
perpetuating the narrative that they cannot. And I think that
like,
must
they're probably like, we've exhausted every option. What else do we do? Like, they're probably feeling like that a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know like what the exact reason is, but I do like feel bad for them. I do feel like I'm just drawn to supporting them. But Galliumanov were so good at Worlds, and I expect them to still be really good next year. So it'll be so interesting.
Well, and I would be interested to see if now Boykova gets a big fire under her for next season and actually they do something phenomenal, or if they kind of give in to now being second in Russia.
They only lost to them once or twice. Like, it hasn't It's not like it's been like years on
Yeah.
it. And
I feel like it's going to send them in one direction or the other. They're going to surge ahead now in sort of this sort of revenge kind of way, or they're just going to sort of phone it in, I'm afraid.
Mhm.
I'm intrigued about Sui and Han in terms of their health and
on
their
another light.
strategy. Will Sui and Han, will they both be healthy for the Olympic year? And will they, add quads back in for the marginal advantage that they will get to make them competitive? Because I certainly don't see them adding a triple cell Euler triple cell. And I think that we've seen at this point that, the program, as beautiful as it is for the third year, didn't get them the bump in components that probably they would have hoped for. Or
Not to make up for the difference that they lose technically, right?
Right.
I did at Four Continents 2020, I saw Shui practicing triple toe combinations, which I thought was like super impressive. Like I was like, wow. And I was so excited to see her try that. Like they weren't landed, but they were valid attempts. And I was like pretty impressed with that. But obviously it's not something that's come into their program. I didn't see him doing it, but like maybe it's something they're working on. If I were them, which of course I'm not, my strategy would be to get that quad twist back in the program. They still do the throw triple sow. I think that they could do a beautiful throw triple loop, add another half of a point to 1 point. All those things make a difference, right?
Yeah.
I think it would probably be advantageous to them to just do a double axel instead of a side-by-side triple sow as well, just to avoid any sort of like element in the minus. But I feel like they're like duct taping themselves together year by year to try to get through this, but you can never count them out because they've showed up. They've showed up from being down and out and being really, really good.
Now,
I want to see Vanessa and Eric now, like, hello, that's like I'm curious about their health, I know that you and Eric both had injuries towards the end of your career. I know that time off can...
I had no injury.
Didn't you have something in your foot, Meagan, where you didn't have...
Oh, well, I mean, that's not an injury that affected anything. Like I have a floating bone. Okay, yes, I have an injury. I have a floating bone in my foot, so I can't pick for a triple toe.
Didn't you have a knee thing?
Triple toe instead of a triple toe, but I mean, it didn't affect anything.
Didn't your knee bother you at times too?
Yeah, but that's an ache and a pain. That's not an injury.
Okay, that's an ache and a pain. So we all have ache and pains, but I mean,
I was never taken away from the rink because of my aches and pains.
Okay, but didn't you switch side-by-side jumps at one point because it was better for your body and what you felt?
Yeah, like we had the option that we could do that. But I mean, I picked for that triple toe for almost a year with that floating bone, like jamming into it before I was like, I think that we just need to change this jump. And we were lucky that we had the option to change our jumps up. But like we didn't retire because we were injured. We retired because we both felt like we had succeeded in everything we wanted to do. I've read like a lot of comments or people messaging me also saying like, you moved on, you retired. I was like, we both moved on. We both retired. I moved on and I explored coaching. And in the last year, I've really gotten into teaching a lot on Zoom, which is obviously portable. Eric was doing choreography and music. He moved on to working in the choreography field. He moved on to writing music. We both moved on to other interests, but when we competed, I studied. I did 2 nutritional certifications. Doing something outside of competitive skating didn't mean I had moved on. When I started studying, it wasn't like, oh, Eric needs to have another partner. Meagan's starting to go to school.
Right.
You need to have other things in your life. You can't just skate.
Right.
That's a dangerous zone when you do that.
I'm curious what's happening. I mean, today Aliona's in Denver. She just posted that she arrived in Denver. Is she going to be?
I saw that she was flying somewhere and I was like, I wanted to message her and be like, where are you going? Come here.
There have been rumors that the USFS wants her to come to the US and have a skating
school.
Yeah.
Maybe she wants to go to Colorado. Maybe that's where they're trying to get her to go.
I mean, I would be so curious to see what Aliona has to offer. Not every top skater becomes a top coach, though it does seem in pairs it's a little different because you have to work with another partner, and it seems in dance in pairs, maybe because the skaters are older and you have to work with someone else to match technique, that there's a little more inherent teaching and malleability that goes along with that.
And again, I would think someone like Aliona, like yourself, Meagan, who competed for a long time with various partners, you've had to make technical adjustments and learn different styles as you go. So I think it ultimately would make you a better teacher of technique, having done several versions.
And I think it's important to remember, like, Aliona has so much to offer. Like I would jump on the bandwagon for her to coach me. Of course, who wouldn't? Like, of course I would love that. But it won't work for everybody. It won't, because not everybody is going to be compatible to work together. So just because maybe it didn't work for other skaters that worked for her doesn't mean that it won't be amazing for somebody else. Everybody as a skater needs something different from their coach. And what she's going to offer as a coach will, I would imagine, be absolutely incredible. The next person might not need that.
Yeah.
You know, they might not thrive in that, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But I think I saw that she was flying somewhere and I was wondering where she was going.
Well, because it seems she works rather intensely. I'm going to venture.
I would imagine, why wouldn't she? She skated intensely. She trained intensely.
But I think you're probably the same. You strike me as an intense worker.
Yeah, I'm not like really a cheerleader. I'm more of like, I encourage, but like you still have, like, don't be satisfied.
Go, go, go.
You learn that Eric is intense now too. He's just quieter about it. That's what I was kind of picking before, is that I think that
guys, have I not said this for a decade?
You have, but maybe you said
I not told you. You all think I'm so competitive, but Eric is too. He's just quiet about it. And everybody's like,
well, I remember
like,
we did not like that.
Like I've told the world this.
We did not like the Meagan in Wonderland program. And there was an intense message from Eric at that time. It was as intense as Meagan, but quieter about it. So.
And there's nothing wrong with that. He is very competitive. He's a very competitive.
Of course he's competitive.
He internalized things more quietly than I did. That's all. And that's okay. That's just how he is, which is perfect.
My coach says that anyone who's a champion is going to be an intense personality.
Of course.
Just like anyone who is. So this.
Yeah, you don't get to the top just by like humming your way there.
Yeah, I became smarter listening to you in the Kiss and Cry, Meagan. I always felt that way. I was like, listen to her crunch those numbers. I'm like,
and it was really funny because I would do it in the Kiss and Cry, but then like we would leave the Kiss and Cry or we would get home and Eric would start it. Oh, our base, did you know that our base value of this is lower than this team? We need to change that. Like a lot of those thoughts came from him.
But later.
People heard it from me at first, but he was absolutely the same way. That's why we worked so well when we were training. Like, I actually remember when we went to Florida and we're training with Vanessa and Morgan for a couple of weeks in the summer before the Olympics. We had been trying to do the triple lutz double toe combination and then the triple sow on its own, just to like literally to switch it up. Like we had no theory, but he was like, they get a higher base value by doing their triple toe, double toe, and triple sow. We need to put that second double toe back in. Like he thinks of all these things. Like he knows. Mm-hmm. So I think it's funny the way that people think that like he just wasn't as intense or wasn't competitive. He just was different about it, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it is what it is. It was what it was. It's funny, because sometimes in my life, I've like said things and I'm like, I feel like I have like a psychic calling. Like you can laugh. Like everybody can laugh as I say that. I don't care. It's kind of ridiculous. But like things happen and I'm like, I foresaw it. I knew it. And when I was commentating on Worlds, I was talking about Trent and Evelyn's program. And I was like, it was choreographed by Eric Radford, my partner or my former partner. I made that I made that slip. And then afterwards, somebody wrote on my Facebook, like, please don't say former, like, I want to still see you. And I was like, oh, like, we're still doing tours. Like, I don't know why I said that. It was like a funny thing for me to say. But isn't it weird? Isn't that weird timing?
You manifested that with that comment. It's all your fault, Meagan.
It had already been in the works before I manifested it. But isn't it funny, like, that it's like, I saw it. It's like, I had this inclination, but I didn't even know.
Yeah.
It's funny. I've had so many things like that happen in my life that make me wonder. I'm like, I have these weird senses, man.
I believe in stuff like that. I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
I mean, a lot of us do. I like to hear about it. I don't know. Like, I don't know if I believe in it or I don't, but I've felt it sometimes. And I'm like, this is weird that I feel these things. But it's interesting.
Yeah. So
yeah, it was super weird that I said that. And people are like, oh, wow, like that was a weird misquote. And like, it was a super weird misquote for me to say. Yeah.
Well,
do you have any other questions that came in from the chat? How many people were like,
we got a couple, like a lot. There was a lot of excitement that you were coming on. Most of the things with that, although one person named Curious George.
Oh, they sent me a nasty message as well. So did they say like, Meagan's a bitch?
Can you imagine?
Curious George wrote, she needs to stop whining. She is very immature. He said some things about personal life, like, you know, she knew far in advance. Like,
it's funny that people just assume I knew far in advance. Am I like, maybe I appear that stupid? I don't think I'm very stupid, but like, do I appear that way to people? Like, I do think it's stupid. I didn't know. Well, other people did, but Curious George also sent me a message as well, in which I factually tried to correct with facts, but they just wanted to ignore those facts.
You can't even engage. I mean, I can't imagine what you receive as like a champion. I mean, I know like the crazy stuff we have received just in general on any day. And you're just sort of like, what is this? And in a time when, you know, we've been called bullies on the show for having opinions about something, but I think it takes such cojones to write a message and send it to the person you're criticizing and you know nothing about. Like,
that's the thing, like people that don't, I received a lot of support, and from the direct skating community, skaters, coaches, officials, people who know the full story. But it's very interesting to me when people make a critique when they don't know the full story, like calling me a liar. And I'm like, I only know what I know. And then people saying like, both of you are telling different stories. And I'm like, we appear to tell the exact same story. Eric trained with Vanessa for months, asked for a release, and then told me after. And he said we were planning to do shows. That's what I said. We were planning to do shows. I found out after the fact that this was all in the works. We both said the same thing. Neither one of us contradicted each other. He feels as though I was supportive in our original phone call. Could it be viewed as supportive? I didn't say anything mean. Maybe that could be like my nonchalant, like, okays could have been viewed as like, she's okay with it. And that's okay. But we're telling the same story. So to be like, you're lying, I'm like, but we're saying the same thing.
also, who are you? Yeah, like.
So that's very interesting to me. I have no problem if people don't like agree with my opinions, of course. Why should we all have the same opinion? What a boring world this would be.
Right.
But I also think that you can support somebody without hating something. And this comes back to the skating world. Do you know anybody that can support Nathan and not hate Yuzu, or support Yuzu and not hate Nathan?
Why does one have to?
Why does supporting Yuzu have to mean I hate Nathan? Or why does supporting Jason Brown's amazing PCS mean I hate Nathan? I'm like Nathan's biggest fan. I'm also a big Yuzu fan. I like both of them. Like, why?
We also can think that Jason deserved the highest PCS.
Or maybe at one competition, Kevin Amos had really good PCS, and Dave was like, "No, I don't agree with you." Was I mad that Dave?
I say I respectfully don't agree with you.
Yeah. Was I mad about that? No.
Yeah.
I also think Kevin was amazing.
You didn't view his interpretation as strongly as I did. That's okay.
Yeah.
And it's the joy of a subjective sport.
It is in a lot of ways. Like there's a lot of factual things, but there is a lot of subjective things. You have a musically trained background, Jonathan, so you are going to have a different impression on musical interpretation than I will.
So Choco literally couldn't stand up, and I was like, what a lovely performance that was. You know, I mean, it's obviously we're all drawn for different reasons, and I think there's room for everyone in it. That's what makes it so exciting. It is so funny when fans think this sort of disagreement or varying opinion is new to the sport.
Mm-hmm. And I have no problem with a viewing opinion as long as people know the facts as they're making those opinions.
Yeah.
So if you don't know the facts, your opinion isn't as valuable. Yeah. Is that a good way to put it? Yeah. That's the way I feel. But that, like, I made a post saying that we don't have to hate in order to support. I feel a lot of support from people, but I don't think that anybody has to be hated because they support me.
Right.
You can just view like, yes, this was a really shitty situation and that's the way it is. You don't have to hate. I didn't hate.
Yeah.
And when I support Nathan, I don't hate Yuzu. And when I support Yuzu, I don't hate Nathan. When I support Jason, I don't hate the rest of the field. Like, why can't we just enjoy everybody and find the good in everybody and find the things that could be better in everybody?
But I'll say it goes back. I mean, when Dave and I, there was especially that one summer, Dave, when I was living in Germany, we were just living in the late 70s. Like so much of like the competitions we were doing at that time and recapping, and then we were talking with Linda and all these sort of like older champions. It's all the same conversations. We liked this one because she was more athletic. This one was more artistic. This one we wanted this from. I mean, it's like the joy of all that exists now even existed always. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's just actually what draws us to the sport.
And if we all wanted the same thing or liked the same thing, it would just be so boring.
Agreed.
Like, I like a really powerful, explosive skater. I love Trusova and I love Kaori. Do I understand the weaknesses to that? Yes. Although I love Trusova's amazing explosive skating, I realize that it's at the sacrifice of something else. But I am drawn to like that. It doesn't mean that you have to. You love the beautiful lyrical skating of Satoko, and that's also okay.
Although I have to tell you,
But I don't hate Satoko because I love Trusova and Kaori.
Yeah.
So this is like the dilemma within the skating world, right? And it's always kind of the thing. I had a coach, Sylvie, that used to say, like, if we all liked the same thing, it would be so boring. Like, every skater skated the same. How boring would that be?
Well, and you know, some of the skaters that are clearly trying to almost accommodate all the viewpoints, and they do become a little bland because they're catering to everyone and yet then can't say anything specific enough.
Yeah, or like their soul goes missing because they're trying to cater to other people.
People pleasing instead of performing or doing whatever it is that,
Yeah, just this whole skating world, it's very fascinating. People wanting to be outspoken about their opinions all the way. I am all for it. I prefer facts as I'm outspoken. That's okay. And it's usually the way it is. So anybody that I've tried to correct on social media, it was only because a fact may have been missing, where they said, you, in capital letters, retired. You moved on with your life. I'm like, we did. Yeah. I'm still waiting here for a tour to happen. We're all waiting for something to happen because of COVID, right? All the skaters are waiting to go on tour everywhere.
Well, it is fascinating. We wish you the best, and we'll be watching what you do going forward. So thank you so much, Meagan.
Thanks, guys.
All right, and we're back with This and That. I'm Dave Lee still.
And I'm still Jonathan Byer. I did use the restroom in between the two.
It was intense.
Yeah.
Babies, it was less.
That's right. I was like, God, it's like visiting my nieces.
So Jonathan, what do you make of all of this?
I mean, just when we ended World Team Trophy, and we're like, oh, it's one of those lulls in the moment. Nothing's going to happen in the sport for whoa. And then it just like took off like gangbusters. And here's the thing, when we were sort of first talking about the rumors that we were hearing about it and things like that, again, I was very intrigued by the possibility of a Vanessa and Eric combination. But it didn't occur to me that then again, here's Meagan, not even just from the, when did you loop me into all of this sort of thought process, but tours are her moneymaker. And now I just didn't think that now her option of touring has changed very much so. And that's an income thing. That's something that's a very valid and serious thing to consider.
Yeah, there's a lot of things to break down with that. But, you know, after a new Olympic champion is crowned, the last group traditionally has always had feelings about it, right? In Scott Hamilton's book, he wrote about feeling initially being insecure about how he would be received once Brian Boitano was the reigning Olympic champion. Right? Like there's an adjustment that gets made because the new star gets the attention and this and professional, you know, it had been a new model with say Star on Ice and different things like that. And I think, yes, you have to wonder, like, are Duhamel and Radford a legacy team? Will they be supplanted by an Alexa and Brandon on a North American tour, or a Kirsten Moore Towers and Michael Marinaro? Now, in terms of everyone, the Meagan and Eric situation, I think, is like one sphere of this. I do think, though, that I had a conversation with Mervyn Tran this week, and he made a really great point that, you know, skating is a competition is competition, and that sometimes in skating we get in the thought process of this is my spot, or I earned this. And I think we were seeing this a lot with Karen Chen, that because she was the top finisher for the US at the Worlds, that she was then obviously guaranteed a spot for the Olympics. But it doesn't actually,
Dave,
no
the
guarantee.
more egregious one was when Mirai in 2014, all of these articles would say, well, she was fourth at the 2010 Olympics. So obviously she, and I was like, then you're not paying attention to the sport. It's about who's in the moment. Yeah.
Yeah. But he said, you know, sometimes we all in skating, judges, coaches, skaters, everyone thinks about like, what's your turn, and that your PCS are supposed to be calculated based on that, versus, and then sometimes it's seen of as a sport, and we shift back and forth depending on what suits our needs at the time, and that there's no consistency. But he said that everyone, and it's true that everyone does do this, right? Like when you want your team to win, you can justify in your head, well, they should get higher components, obviously.
Yes, you make excuses for those you like, and you will nitpick those that you don't. Of course you will.
It happens all the time. Yeah. It's one of the great debates of the sport. It's something that makes it interesting and fascinating. But I do think that the biggest mistake that an Evelyn and Trent could make is that, and I understand why they feel this way, and what is that there's a feeling that Skate Canada has chosen this team of Vanessa and Eric and anointed them because they have put out the press release because they wanted to, I imagine, control this narrative, that they announced it even before Vanessa and Eric posted about it.
Right.
USFS did something very similar with Alexa and Brandon to control that narrative when it comes out so that it doesn't come out in other ways. I think it's very unusual for someone like Meagan to be open about their feelings in such a way. I think a lot of times in skating, that person gets kind of marginalized, and everyone kind of looks at them askance, and they are supposed to kind of play along, and then everyone goes, ooh, what do they think about it? The same thing in a relationship when someone, right?
It's so much like a relationship, isn't it? And then
that's the hard thing, is that there's a part of skating that is a personal relationship, and there's a part of skating that's business.
Right.
It is very tough. I think it's interesting that in jobs, you're allowed to look for another option before you leave your current option, right? That's considered actually better. That's considered smart, and that's considered a more with it employee rather than someone who doesn't have a job before they go to the next one. You're like, well, are they fired? Are they crazy? Like, what is right? But in a relationship, that is entirely not okay, right? And skating is in the middle of that. I think with Evelyn and Trent, if I were their coaching team, I would absolutely understand why they would be upset, but then I would have a come to Jesus meeting after, and I'm the kind of person where I need to feel my feelings, and then I need to process, and then come down to earth and develop a plan. And I think for them, I would advise them, if I were their coaching staff or talking to for God or whoever, to be like, you're against a team that is new, that has lots of injuries from years of training in this very brutal sport, and you have to go make them earn it. And
because they do have to earn it.
Yeah, and you have the more current mileage, and you have the more current pulse on the sport. You've been to the World Championships the last years. You push hard, and you make them work for every 10th, and you show them, you make them work so hard that they have to get injured, right?
Yeah, kind of. If you still want that team, you can do it.
This is not over. This is not even close to over. And I worry that skaters do start to tailspin in this situation, that there is a feeling that
already resigning to get to ending third. Yeah.
But again, it's so early in the process, right? People didn't know. I understand why they didn't inform the other teams, meaning Kirsten Mortars, Michael Marinero, Evelyn and Trent, until after the World Championships, because if they find out before and a team starts getting in their head at that time about it, then it's almost like you kind of contributed to their failure. There's never a good time to make like an announcement.
Right. And that's the thing. Yeah.
Right. We saw when Virtue and Moyer announced they came back, it was the same day that Weaver and Poge were competing at Four Continents, I believe in 2016. And they didn't have a great outing there, but maybe they found out in days or weeks before, right? And that's an Olympic champion team coming back, and you think you're on one trajectory and it's just going another way. So yeah, I also think that Virtue and Moyer's comeback probably even overshadowed Meagan and Eric winning a second world title. And the euphoria of that was actually great for them. But the excitement looking forward to the next season was about this other comeback happening. So
well, or it's even interesting back to think to 94, of course, when suddenly we had the two great Russian pairs coming back. And there were a lot of people, a lot of Canadian fans in particular, that felt Brasseur and Eisler were now, it was their time to have won. Had these other two teams not come back. We still look back at 94 as one of the most exciting pairs competitions of all time in pair skating. And I wouldn't trade that for anything.
I love a comeback. I love, I think people come back refreshed with new energy and something new to say. I think it's interesting. I think it shakes things up. I think it tends to be good for everyone involved. Look at Virtue and Moyer came back with renewed energy, a different look, a different coaching staff. And I think that's great.
They gave us some of their most iconic moments in the comeback. Yeah.
I'm intrigued to see Vanessa and Eric. I do wonder if this is about branding him as an artist and all of these things. And he talked about exploration, and they are skating to Harry Styles Fallen. So maybe not what I think of as like revolutionary artistic, but look, they both have long lines. So that's interesting. Different people have remarked that Meagan and Eric weren't the fastest team, but that they were, had good skating skills, in terms of like the sound. That Vanessa and Morgan were a very scratchy team on the ice, but that they were faster. So I'm intrigued to see how they're going to meld together and whether or not they will have tons of speed or smooth skating skills and what kind of entrances and lifts and things that we're going to see.
But it's just interesting, even as we see something like Alexa and Brandon, like they kind of started about when Vanessa and Eric are in some ways, and will ultimately culminate, I think, in their vision of the Olympics at about the time Alexa and Brandon culminated in this year's World Championships. And of course, we know the one thing we say is how fast Alexa and Brandon have melded together, but ultimately we're looking forward to them now getting nonstop mileage. And again, they've done this with not enough time to really get any mileage. There's so much, I mean, no one knows really what the schedule will hold, if it's going to look more like a regular season in a schedule or not. But even in a regular looking season, there's not much time.
Yeah, it does seem, I think that Skate Canada put its arms around this, and the quotes by the CEO about, Vanessa and the Morgan thing. There's never been an investigation that's public that we know of that really has gone into what Vanessa knew and what that involvement was. I don't think that a woman should be blamed for a man's transgressions, but at the same time, what someone did know and who they were considering as potential partners and things like that is potentially fair game in terms of the situation. Obviously, there could be legal reasons why Vanessa doesn't come out and give a full story, but saying that you don't support thing is also fair game as well, right? It's just, I think it's an uncomfortable cloud over this team. And I do agree that going into the Olympics, this is potentially extremely cloudy to go into, especially for a team where Eric has spoken out about anti-bullying, and now you're going to have a gay partner and a Black partner together. And I think they said on Glee, like, you're Black, I'm gay, we make culture. Like, this is the kind of social media dream team, and Vanessa has gone viral. So I do think that Skate Canada, it was very interesting to me that, they got criticized by Asher Hill in the spring, summer 2020. Then all of a sudden, Vanessa and Asher on diversity panels, and it thought, oh, they are taking full advantage and adopting Vanessa as their own for diversity interviews during the challenge. So in those things, I think there were signs that this was coming, that many,
Skate Canada is clearly making a discerning effort to try to rev up their diversity. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, maybe not bad maybe not a bad way to be opportunistic for Skate Canada, but in this situation, there is baggage to that. Yeah. So I don't think it'll be as clean as maybe everyone involved hoped it would be. Right. So, and I think that it's a fair conversation. We also don't know exactly publicly what happened in terms of like, why did someone offer so-and-so a pizza? And what was the situation before that? You know, knowing what is printed and so on.
Yeah, because again, of course, right now, the main narrative is Meagan and Eric. But like you're saying, there's this pretty big narrative that's being brushed under the rug.
Morgan endorsed it. Could you imagine? Like, what? Could you imagine that whose endorsement they wanted less? Do you want, what would you prefer? Angry Meagan or Morgan Tsipras commenting all over your post that he endorses you?
Right. Best to not be heard from maybe at the moment.
I could just imagine the Christine Brennan article and Morgan Tsipras tweeted his encouragement, right?
Morgan Tsipras approved partnership, The
snarky line that would just make you gasp.
Yeah.
When he did it, I thought, is this like delusional narcissism? Like what is happening here? Like,
It's a clumsy start, this.
Yeah. And for Canadians who always, there have been so many comments by both American but especially Canadian fans that will say, I haven't liked this season. It's too much Russian drama. It's distasteful. And then we got comments that this doesn't sell well in Canada. What is this?
This is a whole bag of non-Russian drama.
Although I'll tell you, the more we find out about how ambitious Eric is, the more fascinating he has become to me as a person.
Yeah. In the same way, Mia Hamada, for many years, we thought she was this really quiet, sweet, encouraging lady in the Kiss and Cry. You never know what's going on underneath the surface there.
I mean, on one hand, respect to Eric for being ambitious.
Yeah.
He can live his life. I think the personal is the personal, and that's something that you have to obviously handle. And it does not appear to have been handled well in this interest. In terms of him and Vanessa, I'm just curious what will happen when they actually start training and start competing, and is it enough time, and are they going to look good I think it's the kind of things that everyone wants to see.
I think it could be interesting to watch. Again, I'm always fascinated how a partnership like this, as I was with Alexa and Brandon, coming from different schools, like to see how this melds together. They're both very lanky, you know what I mean, compared to other teams. And like even just seeing them do some crossovers, like it was pretty good looking.
Her skating skills used to be criticized quite a bit back in the day. I know it's been a while since she actually competed, and then they did have that good season, but her lines and extensions, there was a reason she had the pantsuit and all sorts of things.
And it's a bit like of an eteri quality, where even if the toe's not being pointed or the edge isn't so great, what she does have is a free leg that can just fly so far up that it gives the illusion of a big extension.
And it did look good in that clip we saw on Instagram. I don't think that we've seen, the twist is more impressive than the Salchow to me. I mean, Meagan did a throw triple Salchow with her partner in Battle of the Blades, and we saw, we've seen a star lift before. That's not shocking, but I thought their twist was, it is a big twist game, right? And neither one, like Meagan and Eric certainly don't have the reputation of a huge twist, which I don't think that Alexa and Brandon's twist is as big as Alexa and Chris's twist, but we still think
it gets bigger and bigger each time.
Right, and we also think Alexa, huge twist. And Brandon and Haven had at least a twist that was comparable with what Alexa and Brandon are doing. Vanessa and Eric don't come from teams that have had the same twist, but it's a big twist game. Yeah. I'm curious, how will they do an extra season if this lasts? Like, I can't see them getting to, I think it's a risk. I think it's an interesting risk. I can't see them getting to the world podium in a year. Not because I don't think that they are good, but because there are a lot of teams at the top who are pretty in there, right? That would have to make a lot of mistakes, and everything would have to go right for Vanessa and Eric. And I think we've seen in these comebacks, we see Chelsea Memel coming back. The comebacks as you get older get rockier from week to week to week. So,
well, and even when we saw, for instance, someone like Carolina come back, when she was not going to be as competitive as she was before, it did sort of make sense because it was clear the Italian Federation was trying to round out their team event. and she still had something to offer. She was still top 6 at the Olympics, even though it was a different story. It's not necessarily, again, we sort of briefly touched on it with Meagan, if they do make the Olympics, I don't know that their addition to the team event suddenly makes the team event more competitive for Canada.
No, I don't think so. We haven't seen them, but I don't imagine, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't think that they'll be doing side-by-side triple lutzes or anything like that. But I'm intrigued. Listen, it gets away of the pretense that Canada is so icky, sicky, sweet, and nice. And that is fascinating.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, even as Meagan was saying, like there's sort of this upfrontness about a lot of the Russian athletes and their media versus sort of a more passive aggressive quality that.
How about Kirsten liking every tweet that was.
Yeah. I don't know that this affects KMT. I mean, again, she had
I think she's ahead.
She needs to look inward at the moment, KMT, regardless of whether this team came back, I think. But
I think everyone needs to talk to Elena Bechke in this situation. Everyone.
Yes. What was it she said when she was getting upset about Natalia and Tamara was like, you're focusing on the wrong thing? Or I don't remember how she worded it. It was so good. She's like, your attention is so in the wrong place right now. I don't even want to work with you.
But how about the comeback? About
don't do it. Or if you do it, I don't want to do it with you. And she was right.
I think Tamara could talk about this situation too.
Yeah, I agree.
Think about what happened the last week and if Tamara would have seen that coming.
Yeah.
She's a very wise woman. So
she really is.
I'm intrigued. I'm so intrigued by Eteri coaching about
the Tarasa Morozov situation. Yeah, well, what about that late night thing? That was so funny to see them on like what looked like a Seth Meyers show. That like they're bringing on a full skating team for just late night TV. What a different world they're living in over there.
Well, it just shows you how skating. Tukdemishev, I believe, was on this show.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Someone could correct me, but 2020, when Eteri's AAA, when the Troika, swept nationals, they went on a talk show after that as well. It might have been this team. So it just shows you how different skating is over in Russia and how fun that is. It was funny to see their energies with each other. They were a little more reluctant to be open about certain things. It was
well, especially in like that kind of venue where like there's supposed to be a bit of lightness, but they bring such gravitas to them as like this power trio or whatever. I thought she looked like $1 million, Eteri with that pretty chain thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Dudakov has such a funny posture. It's such a funny like facial expression throughout the entire thing.
He seems like the most like from skating and he's like along for this ride, where I think the other two enjoy the spotlight. I think Sergey just reminds me of like the nuts and bolts worker guy. Yeah.
I think this cements Eteri becoming an Arena Wiener Tarasova juggernaut figure.
A figurehead. Yeah.
Look, she didn't get Trusova, but she gets a pair to come back, right? And will her daughter make the Olympics? Like, what is happening right over there and the politics that are spinning? That's intriguing to me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I am here for it. But
now, are you here for a Lion King program from Wakaba Higuchi that we saw?
The Lion King is interesting because the music has different qualities based on the pieces that you pick. So
it was the stampede in the middle. I was like, I picture the wildebeest like running in there, and I was like, not what I want to be looking at when you're making these jump attempts.
So I believe The Lion King to be universal. Like it was a children's film that was beloved around the world.
Based on Hamlet, by the way. It's like some heavy subject matter. Yeah.
But I'm wondering now, is this cultural appropriation? Because the musical is certainly inherently more
Although this is definitely, so her cut is definitely from the movie and not from the musical.
Right, but it does take themes that were in the movie that were then, those songs were either developed or maybe they were cut from the original. Like she's using part that becomes Shadowland in the music. Now we sang this, it's so funny because I was like in the most white, Jewish high school of all time. we sang Shadowland at least one full year. I forget if we did it for a second one, but we had like one designated Dominican girl who sang the solo in Shadowland and then in Changamano. Anything where there was remotely culture, we had Cynthia Pressinol Marte up there on stage doing it, right? And that's probably like totally.
I just happen to, and I'm aware, like I'm already afraid of the comments. But
Jonathan,
like,
do you love Shadowland? Do you have Shadowland? The leaves have fallen.
well, as a classical, like as an opera singer, one has to be careful where we draw those lines, because then like, am I allowed to sing Italian opera only if I am Italian? Am I allowed to sing?
Journey may lead you. Let this prayer be my guide. Let me tell you, it is the greatest. Okay, they need to like just redo the edits a little bit, and like I will feel this. Okay,
but it does build. There's big cinematic building to this. It's just for Wakaba. I expect, and maybe she will give us that.
It is perfection. Okay, she is a big, bold ass skater who's like does that triple axel with a thud. She is not graceful. She needs music like this.
Yeah. I was just expecting something a little bit more like rock pop oriented, but maybe she'll give us that for the show.
I do think she needs to do like an inside spread eagle in a circle. Maybe some sort of a headdress. Listen. Yes, Jonathan, you need to go into the kitsch. There were rumors that Fear and Gibson were going to do Lion King. Max Aaron used it, not as well, but remember that they did the song He Lives in You. I mean, there are better songs from the musical. Look, but it's not bad for what she's campy. She's skating Adele. Come on.
And again, she has a big presence on the ice. Like she can skate big and fast and powerful. So I love the idea of leaning into it. And the Lion King in this cut, in this cinematic version, does just swell and get bigger and bigger. So it can be like a big moment. Again, I just hope she gives us something rock.
Don't do I just can't wait to be killed. Or like the Elton John, Can You Feel the Love Tonight, sounds so schmaltzy to our ear.
It's definitely of an era.
Right?
Yeah.
It was 1994. 8 years old.
Yeah, exactly.
It was like the cinematic event of the summer.
You can still picture Nicole Bobeck hydroblading. It was very current when she did that Lion King program.
It was beautiful.
It really was. It was one of her best show programs. Yeah.
Listen, Wakaba needs a little bit of that. Razzmatazz showbiz. She needs to land a triple axel in both programs. She has a great shot at the Olympics if she can get it together enough to get the Japanese Skating Federation behind her.
The jumps, obviously, in this exhibition were getting away from her, but like a new program under spotlights, it was like, you know, whatever. But I see the potential for it here.
I'm intrigued by the choice to do these new music choices at Stars on Ice Japan, because programs take a while to come together and gel. Maybe she got hers done sooner because obviously she wasn't going to the World Championships. It's interesting to put it out before it's completely baked, right? I don't know that
unless this is her process of trying to bake it,
right? But in terms of Shoma, like I'm more intrigued by the Primavera that she's doing. Jeff Buttle is choreographing it for her short. We saw that music used by Hannah Miller, I believe in 2014, and I loved it for Hannah Miller. I don't know about it for Wakaba. I would think about it for like a Mariah Bell type, that I would use that music, but I think it's beautiful by Anadi. So
yeah, again, these are not necessarily the, she's this sort of Sia stuff, that sort of, even when Kaori was doing Got No Roots or whatever it was, like, or was that Wakaba? Someone on the Japanese team was using I Got No Roots. I think it was Kaori.
Is this the short program that you loved that she did the year after Adele? That was the Shaylin program that you were obsessed with?
No, I don't. Well, in any case, I loved something like modern poppy. I just felt it so worked well for her. So the idea, again, like, remember at one point she was trying Scheherazade, and it just, don't show us what it's not, show us what it is. Yeah.
Listen, I'm for the Lion King, all right? Yeah. It needs to be worked out, but I think that it can be improved. And
what about the Shoma Bolero version?
I loved his last program so much. This is one where I think it was a rushed debut.
Yeah. Yeah.
A couple perspectives. How many triple axels is he just gonna keep throwing in the show?
Just gonna keep trying. Just keep trying them. Yeah.
But there were some interesting choreographic moments.
Yeah. An interesting version. When I first saw Bolero, I was like, really? And obviously it's a very poppy take on it, and it just sort of quotes Bolero at times. But I don't know, I could see it being interesting. It lacked sort of that like fervent energy that I kind of like from him, the music, but I think it could be really interesting.
I'm here. Yeah. I'm willing to give it another viewing.
I'm willing to make me look at it again.
Maybe with fewer triple axel attempts and...
Yeah, I was unsure what that was about. Just trying to figure out where it works best, or yeah. So just do all triple axel passes.
Yeah, I'm so intrigued. I think this summer is going to be really interesting because I skate in Montclair, and that has people that are going for Nebelhorn. So while we have the Shomas of the world that have to peak for later in the season, I skate. Yesterday I was skating with Michael Martinez and Isadora Williams. You know, they're getting ready for this Nebelhorn battle against Alexia Paganini, who's an old Hackensack skater. I think this summer is going to be really interesting because they have to get out there in the public, you know, ahead of time before they even get to Nebelhorn, potentially doing summer competitions and getting prepared.
They're really going to have to peak a lot of these at Nebelhorn. Yeah.
And which skater is going to be sent to Nebelhorn?
Right.
Alyssa Liu was saying that she's doing her triple axel in her Instagram live. A week or two before, she hadn't looked as good when she was training in Colorado, but she's athletically gifted. Maybe she is landing it again. Also, people ask people uncomfortable questions on Instagram live, and I'm so intrigued to see this summer. Look what happened from last week to this week. Game changing, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And it was all eteri all the time, and then Canada, and what is going to happen
What's next?
I think it's the Olympic year. It keeps going.
Yeah.
I mean, Simone Biles went from Nike to Athleta, and it was so funny with statements is that she was saying the, you know, this brand supports me more, and obviously Nike has had a few scandals, but the thing they didn't announce is when like Federer left Nike and went to Uniqlo, he got paid so much more money than Nike could ever.
Well, isn't that what drives those decisions?
Excuse me, Athleta's a brand for women, and they're really supporting Simone
Oh,
as a person on and off the
I
competition
see.
floor.
I believe that.
It was a great quote.
Yeah, yeah.
We're also
There you go.
sponsoring her tour.
Okay.
Listen, Simone has long money. Simone was also doing something that's very controversial / she's free to live her life. She was like drinking and romantically with her boyfriend on Instagram, and certainly she's an adult and free to do these things. We just don't usually see it.
Yeah, it's strange to
I
like.
thought, what would Tessa Virtue say about these things? Doing shots? You know, this is Tessa.
And everyone was waiting for Tessa and Scott, watching them like hawks in any romantic, you know, situation.
I mean, it was like clutching the pearls moment. So
Clutching the midnight or moonlight sonata earrings moment.
this everything is going to heat up over the next couple of months. I don't know. This is
Well, and now that we're starting to get those announcements about programs, I always find this a very intriguing part because I think so much of the groundwork that is laid now in just those initial choices. Who's doing the program and what is the musical selection? I find that to be a really informative part about how this is going to play out.
Also, I've been around my Polish people. We had a big discussion about the Wojcik situation. Okay, so Wojcik is the Americanized accepted version.
Yeah.
So, but it's just like interesting because when the family went to Fall River, part of the family accepted Wojcik, and then part of the family, like other branches, went by Wojcik, but some spell it different ways. So it's just interesting to, so it's a,
Yeah.
but everyone agreed we didn't keep up the language, we kept up the drinking. That was a universally accepted.
Yeah.
That was.
Well, here's the thing, Dave, like what's the little bread with the chopped tomatoes on it? What do you call that appetizer?
Well, I call it bruschetta because I'm not.
Well,
I
it's
can't.
bruschetta, right?
But my
of course-
sister's in-laws will call it bruschetta, or like,
bruschetta, but like in the same way. Do you say fajita or do you say fajita? So I mean, it's just we're just like making choices, right?
Excuse me, wojcik is not as bad as vagina. That's terrible.
I think people in Poland may disagree. Where does one draw the line? Where does one draw that line? I don't know.
Wait a second. We literally went to like the Wojcik family reunion. I'm like, I distinctly remember someone giving a speech about the Wojcik family. And I was like, wait a second. There were like more than 100 of us there. I was thinking about
exactly. Amazing.
So, yes. But
mystery solved. Mystery solved.
Yeah. Sometimes they change some of the last names too. I mean, the Polish spellings.
When all this Ellis Island stuff, though, I mean, so many we know, like everything got like misspelled, things have gotten shortened, you know, all these things will happen. So. And
then I saw Benoit this week. I'm about to go take his Edge class.
Oh, amazing. How was that?
I didn't get to go on Friday because I had a family funeral, but they added one by popular demand. And I've actually seen him working at the rink. So I cannot wait to like hold the edges and like throw the front of my body down.
Yeah, I think he'd be great at a class like that.
Oh my God. Okay, so Benoit has a couple like tattoos. Obviously he wears all black every day.
Choreographer, yeah, that goes without saying.
And he has like this like chain link bracelet. And I'm like, is this a prison bracelet, Benoit? Like, is this where you like learns your craft? He's like, no, this is a designer that is red.
You are a prisoner to the art of skating. Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait.
Okay, so, amazing.
He went to dinner with Igor Lukanin last night and they FaceTimed me. It was
that's funny.
I said, what, are we having some beers? And Benoit goes, no, we are French. We have wine.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Yeah,
it's true. What is Alyona doing in the States? This is the next one.
Okay. Oh, that could be a game changer.
I don't think she'll be working with Alexa, but
but if she were to sort of rev up all of our other teams and everyone working in Colorado, this could be a huge move for the States.
She can absolutely come to Hackensack. We would love her. Why not? I'll invite you, Alyona, me who has zero standing in this.
Yeah, exactly. Just for lunch. Yeah.
Oh my God. Also, new technical note from Galina.
Okay.
She would like me to squeeze my balls on the entrance to the loop jump.
Oh, and is that working for you?
Yes.
Do you shriek a high-pitched note as you go into your loop?
I don't know, but she was retelling the story that she told Johnny this, and if you would miss the loop on warm-up, she would go like this to him, which meant squeeze your balls.
And that's supposed to just keep your legs tighter together?
Tighter together on the takeoff, yes.
I was like, you could also tell me to keep my legs tighter together. Also an option, but I guess it's not as fun.
Cody Hazen, who is involved in the TSLC community, took a lesson from Galina, and she goes, excuse me, where do chickens have eyes? And he goes like on the side of their head. She goes, yes. So when you go into the jump, look like a human and not a chicken.
I wouldn't have known where she was going with that. Yeah.
It's how you remember it, Jonathan. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Now we'll always remember. Yeah. Okay.
Why not?
Yeah. Right. Like a human would. Yeah.
Why not?
I've had directors say that. Walk across the room. How would you like me to walk across the room? I don't like a human. Try that. Try that. Yeah. Well, I'll be intrigued how you like the Benoit class.
I'll be very intrigued. I'm ready for it. I am here. I'm skating on my day off. So I'm like, oh dear.
Yeah.
What am I?
Don't forget to work in that day of rest, Dave. I think it's important.
Maybe if I'm really dead, because I heard people took it and that they said it wasn't the actual movement that maybe he did that was maybe it was like the volume of movement or something. People were feeling their inner thighs and things.
Oh, okay.
And yesterday I was feeling tired because I'm going to physical therapy and we're strengthening the hips and the shoulders and we're doing the hamstrings and I was so freaking tired yesterday before. And yeah, there's just we are in the thick of it. We are putting in the effort and this and I got my Skating Club of New York jacket, and it must have been a child's medium and not an adult medium because I didn't even get to wear it. I'm not feeling like Dorothy Hamill currently. I'm gonna have to order another one.
Okay.
Right. Hold an edge and look sexy, everyone. And thank you, Canada, for giving us so much this week. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for joining the fun. Bye.